Today we will going to read chapter 2 of Ottoline at Sea. Chapter 2. Just going down to the laundry, called Ottoline later that evening. Mr. Monroe didn't hear her. In the basement, a large bear was sorting through a pile of clothes. "Hello," Ottoline said. "You're just the bear to talk to. I'm thinking of taking Mr. Monroe on a holiday. He could do with a change of scenes." "What a good idea," said the bear. "Anywhere nice?" Summer hot and sunny," said Ottoline. "Mr. Monroe doesn't like getting cold or wet." She picked up a basket of clean laundry. "Have I seen my stripy socks?" Mr. Monroe climbed to the top of the fire escape and onto the roof of the Pepper Pot building, which is where he always went when he needed to be alone. Except that evening, he didn't stop there. Mr. Monroe carried on up the dome of Pepper Pot, right to the very top, higher than he'd ever climbed before. "Pahang is very sunny at this time of year," the bear said, passing Ottoline a handkerchief. "I could visit my friend the Sultana, said Ottoline. She had a very hairy elephant called Bye-Bye. "Sounds lovely," said the bear. "I could help you pack." He folded a pair of polka dot knickerbockers. "Will you be eavesdropping this evening?" "Only for a little bit," said Ottoline. Ottoline and the bear went back up the apartment 243. Mr. Monroe called Ottoline excitedly, knocking on the door to his room. "I know the perfect place to go on holiday. The bear has come to help us pack and—" She stopped. Mr. Monroe's room was empty. "Where is he?" asked Ottoline with tears in her eyes. It's not like Mr. Monroe to go anywhere without telling me. And look, he's taken his duffel bag." She began to cry. Just then, Mrs. Pasternak and a pet monkey, Maurice, from apartment 244 came in. The front door was open. "Ottoline, dear," she said, "is everything all right?" "No," sobbed Ottoline. "Mr. Monroe has disappeared and I don't know where he is." "I think I do," said Mrs. Pasternak. Chapter 3. "Mr. Monroe was obviously trying to tell you something, dear," Mrs. Pasternak said as she poured them all another cup of tea from the 4-spouted teapot. "Yes, it must be my fault Mr. Monroe has gone to Norway all by himself," said Ottoline tearfully. The bear offered her a large spotted handkerchief. "Dear, dear, dear," said Mrs. Pasternak sympathetically. "Worse things happen at sea. What you need is a good night's sleep. I'm sure things will seem better in the morning. But that night, Ottoline couldn't sleep. She lay wide awake thinking about Mr. Monroe and missing him. In the morning, Ottoline found the postcard and a brown paper parcel on the doormat. Ottoline rushed to the cupboard where the bear liked to sleep. "Wake up," she said. "I'm going to Norway to find Mr. Monroe. Will you come as my assistant?" "I'd be delighted," said the bear. Ottoline knocked on the door of apartment 2244. "Good morning, Mrs. Paternack," she said. "You're right. Things do seem better. We're going to Norway to find Mr. Monroe. Could you give us a gift to Big Sea Harbor?" "Oh, I think I can do better than that," said Mrs. Paternack mysteriously. 10 minutes later, they're driving down 3rd Street in Mrs. Paternack's Warren Harding Continental. The automobile was so big that Mrs. Paternack couldn't see over the steering wheel and had to look through it instead. Maurice the monkey stuck his head out of the window and gave hand signals. Mrs. Paternack drove past all the ships that were moored right away to the very end of the dock until Maurice waved stop. Mrs. Paternack walked down to the edge of the dock and peered into a big city harbor's murky waters. "Cooey! Jules!" she cried. "It's Aunt Judy. I hope this isn't an inconvenient time." A moment later, a tall periscope appeared. Mrs. Paternack waved. Sorry to bother you, dear," she said. The periscope disappeared back into the water, which began to roll and bubble. And a small, slightly rusty-looking green submarine rose to the surface. A hatch opened and 4 heads appeared. "This is my nephew, Captain Jules Paternack," said Mrs. Paternack proudly, "and his crew, Derrick, Phoebe, and Nugent." "Hello, Aunt Judy," said Captain Paternack. "What can I do for you?" "My next-door neighbor, Ottoline Brown, and her assistant want to go to Norway," Mrs. Paternack explained. Can you help Jules, dear?" "An amateur roving collector, eh?" said Captain Paternack, looking at Ottoline's travel pass and stroking his beard thoughtfully. "I have a few errands to run and some underwater exploring to do, but I can take you some of the way," he said, "and with your travel pass you should be able to pick up another lift." "Thank you," said Ottoline, climbing aboard. Take care, called Mrs. Paternack from the dock, waving her embroidered handkerchief. And remember to wear a vest. Aye, aye, called Ottoline as the iron Leviathan headed out to sea. Batten down the hatches, ordered Captain Paternack in a cheerful voice, and prepare to dive. Ottoline and the bear got settled into their hammocks as the iron Leviathan went deeper and deeper under the sea. I miss Mr. Monroe, said Ottoline sadly. I know it won't be the same, said the bear, but I packed a hairbrush. Why Norway of all places? Ottoline mumbled to herself as she brushed the bear's fur. Mr. Monroe doesn't like the cold and rain. Unless, of course, he wants to help Ma and Pa look for Quiet Bigfoot. Quiet Bigfoot, the abominable troll, exclaimed Captain Paternack. Terrifying creature by all accounts. 8 foot tall and with a temperature to match. But very hard to find. A little like mermaids. Mermaids? Said Ottoline. Yes, said Captain Paternack. Would you care to take a look? Yes, please, said Ottoline. She looked through the periscope. I didn't see any mermaids, said Ottoline. Exactly, said Captain Paternack, taking a deep-sea diving suit off a hook. Time for a closer inspection. It's the end of the chapter 3. See you next time. Bye.